Thank you for tuning in to the Invisible Marketer podcast. I'm your host, Kalina, and in this episode, I sit down with Bill Griggs. From the first time that I spoke with Bill, I was truly inspired by his journey. Bill started a Facebook group for CNC woodworking and has grown his group to over 21,000 members. In this episode, we talk about the struggles that he has overcame and the strategies that he has used to grow such a large group, even as an introvert. And if you would like access to today's show notes, head on over to invisiblemarketer.com/Bill. Let's dive on in. I just have to ask, I know CNC woodworking is a huge passion for you. I would love for you to share what makes it so unique and a little bit about what you do.
A lot of people ask that question because they've never really heard of it. CNC stands for computer numeric control. Okay, that's pretty bland sounding. It's basically using a computer to cut things out of, in our case, wood products. The computer controls where the machine goes. It follows lines and things. And if you can draw it, you can cut it. And that's basically it. It's kind of like a 3D printer, only backward. Instead of putting down material to build something, we remove material.
What's one of the things that you've created that just blew you away as far as the designs and everything?
That's a great question. The computer desk that I'm sitting at, that was when I first got started, and that was a unique kind of thing because it all slips together with joints like an IKEA project. And there's an L-shaped desk, and then there's a peninsula part of it. I built all of that. The thing that really blew me away was when I helped a fellow who was making a chair for gaming. He's a big gamer and everything, and he wanted computer monitors on it and the computer desk and everything all in one place, so he never had to get up. And so I helped him with part of that.
Now, I know that you love to do this, but is this your business? Are you turning that into your business?
There's two phases of it actually going on. I do CNC woodworking and I also do CNC metalworking. The metalworking came after I started doing the woodworking because metalworking machines cost a whole lot more than woodworking machines did because of the success I was having with not only making stuff out of wood with the CNC router tables, but I was teaching other woodworkers how I was doing it. And that allowed me to have enough income coming in, revenue, to finally buy the metalworking machine.
You turn your passion into more of a business and being able to turn it into that. I know you have this huge community, and that says so much by being that big of a community. And it's so unique what you do. What are some of the things that you do inside that community?
It's really fun having a community about whatever it is that was your hot button. In our case, we're all woodworkers. We're all probably the fathers and the grandpas and the grandmas and everything that you'd see making the little sign for the side of the mailbox or the shelves that hang up in your room. We all get in there and we share pictures with each other. Sometimes we share files. We talk about techniques, what we did that worked and what didn't work. It's just a community, and I am not the best woodworker in that group. There are guys that blow me away. I'm from New York, so I say guys for male and female. So I guess it's just the way we talk here.
I do too.
There are a lot of women in the group. There are men in the group and everything, but they are sharing. That's the coolest thing. They share their skill, their knowledge and everything. And whatever it is that you're into, the folks out there who listen, maybe you crochet or maybe you like to read books or whatever. You always feel like you're alone. There's nobody else who gets it, who understands what it is that you're talking about. Well, all of these people in this group have similar thoughts and similar minds, and they're just so glad and so happy to talk to somebody who gets it, who shares it with it. And so they're suddenly going from introverted people to totally extroverted about their topic. And I can do that. But most of the time, I'm very shy, self-contained. This is an outlet for me.
I love that you're bringing them together. That is huge, that you've created such a great community for them to share their, what I call it superpowers, but that is your superpower. You've been able to bring this community of people together and allow them to share and grow and learn from each other. I just think it's so amazing that you've been able to cultivate that, and they look to you as someone that they really aspire, you inspire them. is a better way to put it. I know you talked about being an introvert. I'm a huge introvert. Being on camera, it used to scare me to death, and I'm getting better every day. And I know that's something that you struggle with as well. If you would want to talk a little bit about it, what was one of the things that helped you overcome that and be able to grow a group of that many people without being on camera constantly? I'm sure. How did you do that?
It's a timing thing, really. There were things called forums, and there still are, but nobody's using them anymore. Now everybody's on Facebook and Instagram and all these other things. But I started meeting people in forums and talking about what it was. And then we moved to Facebook. When we got on Facebook, I just one day decided I would start a Facebook group about CNC routers. People are always asking me for help, tips, and how do you do that? Or how do you put that together? And so I just named it CNC Router Tips. And we grew slowly. At first, it took almost a year to get to the first 100 people. But then it kicked into overdrive and it really started ramping up fast. So from December to March, we went from 100 people to 500 people. And then from March until October, we bumped up to 1,000 people. And that's when I started a podcast. But that's another story. I've forgotten the question though. But it was just that. It was getting to know the people in the group and helping them with whatever it was, the problem. That's how we grew it. I also did something that was unusual. I've never heard of anybody else doing this. The first 10,000 people in the group, I actually, when they would join the group, I would write them a little, that said, "Hi, Kalina, welcome to the CNC Router Tips group. I see you're in Rogers, Arkansas. Have you ever made a Razorback sign for the folks over at Facebook?" Or whatever. And I would just do that. Something short, sweet. But for the first 10,000 people, every single one of them heard from me right when they joined the group. And I think that at least let them recognize my name and know that I was taking the time to look at where they were from and who they were doing and what they were talking about. It was a lot.
Did you do it by yourself?
Yeah, it was just me.
I mean, I couldn't imagine. I have 30 something members in my community and I'm already waking up to messages every day. But for you to have that big of a crew and be able to manage it by yourself, that's...
It has been challenging, but I will tell you that in those 30 people that you have, one of them is going to be your moderator. One of them is going to step up and do something that makes it better because they enjoy it and they're happy. They're grateful to you for starting the group because it fills a need for them.
You're completely right about that because I'm in seasonal groups for taxes because I love to help people that don't have a clue about what transcripts are or how to do things like that. So I go in there and I answer questions because the moderators are overwhelmed with so many people asking questions during that time. I go in there and help, and I usually get followers even though I'm not talking about taxes on my page, but they just like that I'm helpful.
I think people recognize it when somebody helps them, and that lets you trust them or get to know them better, and you feel the person. One of our mentors, Doug Boughton, he helps, and that's why he has such a big following, because he's helpful, and he never thinks it's above himself, and I appreciate that.
I mean, I've seen people, previous mentors, and I was going to get into this question about mentorship. So no, but we could go ahead and talk about it because the mentors that I've seen in the past, I feel, oh, they're doing a free training every week. They're the best mentor ever. And then that free training is going to something paid, which is usually high for most of the ones that I've followed. But then there's Doug. And when he has an ascension plan and everything, but it's just so much he gives and all the coaching little sessions, the value that you get from learning from other people, it's just so good. And being able to learn from other struggles and what others are going through.
I think you're very successful in this group that we're a part of because you show up. You're going to have trouble taking this compliment, but you're not afraid to do something. Okay. You might be shy about going on camera or online or talking in the podcast. You were, but you did it anyway. And you kept showing up, and you're a hero to a lot of people in the group. I don't know if you know that, but if you didn't know it, I wanted you to hear it.
It's hard for me to take compliments. I want to be that. That is my goal. My goal is to inspire. My goal is to help people. So just to know that if I am, I'm so thankful for that because that's what drives me. That's my passion, to be that and to help people. So
I don't want to derail this interview, but got to ask you, why do you name the podcast Invisible Marketing?
The invisible part is because I wanted to reach people, but I wanted to be invisible because I was an introvert. And I always looked for ways to do that without being front and center on camera.
Mhm.
And that's one part of it. And then the marketing, I want to be able to teach people that they can embrace their strengths and show up out there and not be salesy and just let people get to know you, even as an introvert. And even if you don't want to be on camera, that's the overall goal and mission of that. But just even in written post and just getting out there and building yourself up. But the main overall goal is just provide value in your marketing and get your voice heard and share the right message with people, even as an introvert and not want to be on camera.
I'm so glad I asked you that question. It's perfect. Good job. Whew.
Sometimes I think differently. Maybe that is a little cheesy. When I was thinking about it, this is embodies what I want to do with my brand.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I want to help people. I always have wanted to help people. I don't know why I'm wired that way, but I am.
I know I'm going to struggle with this, or I'm going to try not to struggle with this. Every time I say something bad about myself, I think of you. Because we were in one of the meetings and momentum, Mira, you corrected my thought, what I was thinking. And so now, and I'm not kidding, every time I think about trying to say something negative about myself, I think of your voice. I need to turn that around because Bill said to turn that around. Believe it or not, it's true. So
That's a great compliment. I've been working on that on myself. I know how hard it is. We say, I think the proper term would be self-deprecating things where we're talking bad about ourselves and we really don't need to. If you speak something, it becomes more real. And so if you say bad things about yourself, then you're going to take on those.
Your words are so powerful. It's so powerful.
I see you succeeding. I see you doing things, changing lives. I see you prospering. You need to start speaking. You're going to do that. That's all.
I'll continue to think of Bill every time I don't. I'm a visual person. So every person I meet, I think of one thing. What impression did they leave on me? And I associate that with that.
I'm going to rephrase how I was going to say this, but I always feel a little bit silly when somebody does something great, our group calls, and I'm sitting there clapping and cheering for them. And then afterwards, I think about it. And I'm, oh, that looks so silly. But the truth is, that was the best thing I could have done at that moment. Because you got to cheer for people when they do something cool. You got to be behind them.
I get teary-eyed. I don't know if you've noticed.
Yeah.
I just get so happy to see. And when you shared your win the first time, I was tearing up over there because I love it when other people win. And I love hearing those success stories and hearing that they're finally start seeing results after all this. And I know that they've pushed through. We've all pushed through. So it's just great. And it also gives me inspiration to keep going, to keep going and know your worth. And that's my biggest thing is know your worth and know that you are valuable and that you have a superpower and you need to go out there and figure out how to use it. Kind of thing.
My superpower was my mom. She was the voice I hear whenever I'm thinking of things. And there was something that you just said that makes us all come together. You said you like seeing people win. And we all do. We love seeing people win because when somebody else wins, it proves that you could win too. And my mommy said this saying, if one can, two can. If two can, you can. And she would say that. And it is so true because I look at Doug and what he's accomplished in the last 4 years. He's gone from nothing negative in the bank to a business of over $3 million in just 3 years. I look at that. I say, Doug, then it's possible for somebody else to do it too. And along comes 5 other people in his group who all had 2 comma clubs that he mentored. That means they created $1 million. And then if 2 can, you can. Look at Doug. We look at Cliff. We look at Javier and all these other people that have gone and been successful. It's got to help you believe that you could do it too. That's my mission this year in my CNC group, to teach people do what I did because I got to a 6-figure business with the CNC stuff. Okay. Yeah. And I was able to do that. And now I want to teach them how to do that because I'm going to get on a soapbox. I think we can make it here. We can make whatever we need here and we can get our own little businesses in our own garages and we can then grow grow it to the point where we can hire people to help feed their families because they're making stuff here. Other people are buying our stuff from here and it can grow. And it's just the little cottage industries, the little wood shops in the back and everything. But why not make it here? Why send all of our money overseas? And I don't know. Maybe that's a small way of thinking, but I think we can make it here. And I'd like to help people.
Oh, I know it. And the custom part of that, you don't think about that. I truly believe that you're onto something really big right here. There are so many ways that they can get out. And they may not know this, but I know flea markets, trade shows, there's TikTok. Now, I know some people may be just foreign to TikTok, but the custom made things are really big on TikTok, and just having it seen to the right people is all they need. And I feel like that is a whole big opportunity that could be for people. And it's not that hard to set up. So there's so many different ways. Shopify's really big. You can create your own store there and everything. So I think you're onto something big, and I can't wait to see what you create for your community and open them up to being able to add that extra, be able to love what they do and find a way to share it with others through selling it and sharing it with others like that.
Maybe their goal is $100,000 or $1 million or whatever. Maybe their goal is an extra $500 so they can afford a second car so that folks can get where they need to go. The trick is to work it backwards. Okay, I've got $500 that I need to make every month. What do I have to do every day to make that happen? Or what do I have to do in batches? Because batches is the way I do everything. I don't like to have something that I have to do every single day in order to make money. I like to say, okay, I know that if my product is $100, then I have to make 5 of them and get people to buy them to make that $500. But if my product is $50, it's a simple thing. Now it's 100. There's that 5,000.
Sometimes, you know what? Math is hard, okay?
Yeah, math is hard. That's why, it's why we try not to do it on the fly. But 50 times 10, that's 500. Anyway, my point is you can work the problem backwards, figure out how much you have to sell, how many you have to make, and then how many people you need to get in contact with or have to see you online in order to make it happen. But I will tell you one math I do know, and here it goes. You mentioned that you've got a $30 product, okay? And you can get to the point where it sells 25 a day and you repeat that 4 times, 4 different products. You have $1 million business. And when you think of a $30 item that you bought, you probably bought a $30 item in the last week, right? You're the average person. So it's not inconceivable that you've generated 100 sales a week of $30 items. It's not inconceivable on Amazon. It's not inconceivable on Etsy. It's not inconceivable on your own website that you could do that. You can build $1 million business that simple. And almost everybody in the U.S. can afford $30 at some.
Yeah, I was reading a study on TikTok, like TikTok Shop. Keep it between 5 and 35, I think it was. That's where people are just buying in droves. And so if you could create, I know you do have to have 5,000 followers, but with woodworking being as unique and popular, you could probably grow a channel really quick on TikTok. Just showcase, not even yourself, showcase the products. It takes 5,000 to do a TikTok shop, but there's people buying those products left and right as long as they're between 5 and 35. I think it is definitely something to look into.
There's a follow on YouTube. He's a CNC woodworker, and his product is whiskey smokers. I had never heard of it before, but it's a little piece of wood, and you take a torch and you light the center of this piece, and there's a hole in it when it's sitting on top of a glass of whiskey, and it puts the wood smoke into the whiskey. And apparently folks like the taste of that. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's selling those for $15 each or something like that. And he's done enough of them to have generated over $1 million just from his TikTok and YouTube and everything. Yeah.
That's huge. I've always wanted to create something that somebody would want. I have had e-commerce stores. I've had Shopify stores. I just haven't been able to create my own product.
Yeah.
So I just think it's awesome that you can and the people in your community.
Are you enjoying today's episode and feeling inspired by the stories and the strategies that you are hearing? I would like to personally invite you to be a part of a community that is filled with people from all walks of life. Inside of there, you will discover a welcoming space filled with fellow introverts and entrepreneurs who share their knowledge, exchange ideas, and support each other's growth. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or you're new to this journey, our community is here to empower you every step of the way. You can gain access to exclusive training, insightful discussions, and valuable networking opportunities by joining our community today. Let's collaborate, learn, and grow together. Head on over to community.invisiblemarketer.com and become part of our amazing family.
What are some common misconceptions that you've had about entrepreneurship, about business?
There have been a lot of them, but probably the most obvious conception is that if you make it, somebody will find a way to come and buy it. And that's not the case. You have to make it easy for them to find you. They have to be following your TikTok or on your YouTube channel. You have to tell them what you want them to do, because otherwise you've got their attention for maybe 5 or 6 seconds. Oh, that was really cool. And they're off to the next thing. You show them the whiskey smoker and you don't tell them where to buy it or whatever. You've missed your opportunity and you've probably missed out on the money. So I guess the misconception is that if you make it, they will come. That just doesn't work.
That's so true. Not just for that. On social media, you make a video, you think, oh, people are going to watch it. No, they don't. You're over here hoping you get more than 20 views on your video, especially Instagram. With Facebook, they're showing me a little bit more love. As an introvert in my first video, people are going to watch this. They're going to follow me and they're going to see how real I am and they're going to know me. No, it doesn't happen. And no one tells you that either. It's like a slap in the face.
But I put the video out. How come nobody? But what you forget is when you put out the video, then you put out the next video, and then you put out the next video, then you put out the next video, and eventually they saw your face 10 times or 5 times or however many times, and they're like, oh wait, I keep seeing this face. Let me see what they're talking about.
I love that.
And then that's when they said, oh wait, maybe I should go back and watch the other ones.
Yeah, I believe it, because it's been 30 days of every day. But it's interesting because even though what you make and the products that you make are just amazing, they're the coolest things ever. And when it's such a great product, even though it's that, you don't have the same thing. You don't have people just buying it just because it's so great, because if they aren't seeing it, they don't know that it's there and they don't know where they can get it, or they're just thinking that somebody's just showing off their picture or their item that they created. So they don't know that it's for sale. So I love that the analogy in the way that you said that. And it's not good to know, but it's nice to know that it's not just me. It applies to all different kinds of businesses, not just if you're an online coach or course creator, or if you have a physical product or something. That principle of if you build it, they will come. That doesn't work for anyone outside of the field of dreams. Okay. And nobody teaches it. And I think they should. Even if you create videos for 30 days straight, that doesn't mean that you're going to get even one customer. Okay. But you're doing it because you have that passion. You have that drive to help people and you're not giving up.
I have a large Facebook group, but it didn't come overnight. It took a long time, and just being there over and over again. And it'll happen. And it'll happen faster than you expect.
I would love to hear about a milestone that really stands out to you from your past.
There are a lot of them. Actually, one of the problems I have with picking out just one is I tried a lot of different things before I found what worked and what I wanted to do. I did mail order business and I made some money at that. I did online marketing, podcast, YouTube channel, whatever I thought would move the needle a little bit. Each one I learned something, and probably the most memorable milestone for me was after I had the group and I had relationship with the company that makes the software that controls these machines. I went to a conference and I met the folks and everything. And boy, it really would be nice if I were able to sell copies of your software, because it's when people ask what to use, I'm always talking about it. And they says, yeah, we think that would be really nice too. Here you go. You're now send us your paperwork and you are a dealer for the software. And that was a milestone. And I began to ask the folks inside of my group if they hadn't already purchased the software. I was going to be ordering some, and would you like to join me? It was as simple as that. So I would gather 5 or 10 people at a time and sell them copies of the software. And this went very well before the pandemic hit. And my largest month doing that was $9,000. And I had no concept that was possible or that it was a thing, but suddenly that was tangible. And my original goal was an extra $500 a month. It wasn't 9,000 a month. So you can really exceed your expectation. It was because I had gotten a group together of folks that trusted what I was teaching them. And then I made the software available. I couldn't discount it, but I could teach them how to use it. And that's what I did. I showed them as a group how to use it. And that helps a lot of people. I was using a CRM. It's a program that lets you know where people are in the sales cycle.
Yeah.
So I would get somebody who would express an interest in it, and then I would talk to them and I'd move them over on the pipeline. And then I would make them an offer for here's how much the software is. And then they would decide. And if they bought it or if they needed other help, and I'd move them along this CRM pipeline. And that really helped me keep track of things. And that really helped me know what was going on. And then I got a message from the company same month that I did 1,000 because they told me they track how many people you start with who are interested in and how many you convert to sales at the end of the process. And they told me that I was in the top 3% of people using their software for success. And it just totally blew me away. That was a memorable thing.
Did you keep continuing to do that?
Yeah, I did. Then the pandemic hit and we have to talk about that, but that's another story.
Oh, that changed a lot, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Sure did.
But now that it's over, is there a way to get back into that?
Yeah. And we're just making the steps for that now.
I'm just glad to hear that you didn't let that stop you. You enjoyed that. You love that. And apparently that software must really help people.
Yeah.
Because I know you wouldn't want to introduce anybody to it if it didn't help. I'm glad that you're going back into that and being able to do that.
Yeah. No, that was it. I feel that was maybe bragging, but it's a real thing. If you could do it, I don't think it's bragging. So if anybody's turned off by that, I apologize. It's not my intent.
I do want to hear about the space station. Like I enjoyed following you and hearing you.
I'm a big space nut. When I was a little kid, we landed on the moon and everything was space related, Star Trek and everything. I've been following SpaceX and what they're doing down in Texas is they're just trying to develop rockets to go to Mars. And there's a lot of great YouTube creators out there who have videos and everything. And I just said, man, I watch these videos every day. I got to see this with my own eyes. I got to see how big these things really are. And Colleen and I were taking a challenge where we had to write something every day for a month. And I just wrote it out there. I want to go see the rockets. And everybody was, ooh, yeah, I'd like to see that too. I'm trying to make this a shorter story. I decided we picked a date and I decided I would fly from New York down to Texas. When I say Texas, the southernmost end of Texas, you can't get any closer to the border than this. It's literally right across the river and there's nothing else there. And we flew down and just before I was getting ready to go, one of my CNC friends from our group contacts me. He says, hey, I see you're going to SpaceX. Are you going alone? I said, yeah. He says, would you like company? And it was great. And so I said yes, and we planned it all out. And I flew down to Orlando, and then we both flew into Texas from there. We went on a helicopter ride. We saw the SpaceX facility, and we got to see the rocket. And then we drove down. You're literally maybe a quarter mile away from the launch pad. And I say a quarter mile. When something is 400 foot tall, a quarter mile, you can see everything. It's right there. It wasn't very far away, and we got some great pictures. And I shared videos.
I enjoyed that story because I think we were talking about, and I don't know if it was a monthly meeting or maybe it's a momentum call, but we were talking about what you want to be when you grow up. And I think you mentioned something about space.
Yeah, it was my dream as a kid. Everybody was space crazy when I was a kid, and everybody, you ask any little boy, they wanted to be an astronaut, and we forgot about it. Most of them did, but I didn't. Anyway, I just wanted to see all of this and I guess I'm the little kids who are talking about dinosaurs. They know all the different dinosaur names and everything. I'm that way with the rockets.
And it's so true. My son could barely speak, but he knew every single dinosaur. Wow.
So we don't grow out of it, apparently.
No. But I
Yeah.
honestly love that. That's just amazing. And I
Well,
followed it. I tried to go to your post or page because Facebook didn't show me all the time.
mhm.
And I would go to your page and try to follow you because I just thought it was, who doesn't want to see someone live out a little bit of what their childhood dream was? That's inspirational right there.
Yeah, I got crazy comments, and I was just speaking right off the top of my head. Oh my gosh, look at how big this is, and everything. I'm probably sounding like an idiot, but I was having a time of my life. It was fantastic.
Exactly. I feel you were.
And years ago, we wouldn't be able to share that with anybody in real time. This was cool. This was very cool.
Yeah. That got me thinking about your group and everything. You said they were from your group
Hmm.
that went with you. What about doing some kind of retreat? Or Silver Dollar City has festivals that have handmade
Hmm.
crafts for a week or different things like that. I don't know. You might think about something like that. A bunch of you guys get together and there could be some really great ideas on there for you guys.
That's actually a very great idea.
I think that with what you guys do and them following you and doing that, I feel there might be something that you could create for your group that
Hmm.
you might love to do.
Yeah, thank you for that idea. Whenever you see me on the calls and I'm suddenly looking up into the right, I'm visualizing what's going on. How would I make that happen? And I get in a loop, just sitting there trying to think of it through.
I mean, if there was some kind of trade show or something that you guys
Hmm.
could all come together in one event and showcase some of
Hmm.
your products and stuff, that might be an idea too.
That
There's
could
a
be
lot of
cool.
different things you could do. How do you handle failure or setback?
I have a lot of experience with that. Failure is a reality. It's a fact of life. It's going to happen. I used to let it get me down and depressed. I had a business back around that wasn't doing well, and I ran the train off the track. It was just not working. And I got depressed after that. And I don't mean clinically depressed. I just, I should have done better kind of thing. I let that go for a while. And then I determined I was never going to do that again. Never going to give up on what I was doing just because I had a setback. So here's the thing. Failure is just a teaching tool. It teaches you a way not to do something. Without failure, you can't have success. And I think that you gotta fail, but if you fail fast, don't dwell on it. Don't let it stop you. You gotta go and try something different. Try something new. You can see all the different wacky things that are on my back wall. I try a lot of things and I get distracted or get drawn into these new things. And then I move on to the next thing. It's because I've either figured out everything I need to know from that or I've finally got it successful. And now I want to try something else. And if you have the mindset that failure is just the beginning of trying the next thing that works, you should be fine.
That's so true. I have tried so many different things too, and this has been 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And on the times that I have failed, I might go to bed defeated that night, but the next morning when I wake up, I'm not defeated anymore. I'm determined to go out and fix it and
Mm-hmm.
not be and learn from it. I've had a lot of those times where I've been down, but I don't let it keep me down. I just
Mm-hmm.
since I've met Doug and been in the community and met all of you guys, I haven't really had too many failures. I consider them as learning. And
Mm-hmm.
so I haven't really accepted defeat. I'm going. I don't care. There's nothing stopping me now. And I'm focused and committed. And if I fail, I'm not calling it failing. I'm just going right through it. I'm pushing through it.
The only way to fail is to stop and make what you want out of it. If you keep trying, you'll eventually get there. It may take longer than you expect. I think if your mind is right, your cause is right, whatever it is that you're trying to do is the right thing, you'll get there. Just a matter of being patient.
And you will too. I honestly am excited to see from here where things go. Follow you on your journey. I'm a raving fan. Let's just say
Hey,
because
thank you.
the first time I think I spoke with you, it just left such a huge impression on me and so inspirational. I hear your voice every time I start to talk bad about myself.
I don't intentionally try and do these things. If you ask me to repeat something twice, I probably can't.
It's inside you for it to be so natural for you. You have a big calling. And you have a superpower. I call it superpower. You may have a different word for it.
Yeah.
The world has been robbed too long of that. I want you to go out there and just soar, honestly, because I know that you were called. You've left too big of an impression on me for me not to feel that way about it. And I'm really good
Thank
at
you.
reading people.
Thank you. You can't tell, but I'm blushing. So,
What is a way that people can get in touch with you? Do you have a website? I know you have Facebook. What is your name on there? Maybe so that they can be able to get in touch with you.
For those on Facebook, they can just search for Bill Griggs and I'll probably pop up in the top of it. But I also have a website, cncroutertips.com, which is the website for my podcast, and it has information about the Facebook group and YouTube channel and stuff. That's probably the easiest way. I don't do a lot on TikTok or Instagram because I just don't have the bandwidth. That's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me.
With your podcast, do you still publish?
Sporadically now. I've had the podcast for about 5 years, and the last 2 years have been hit or miss. Frankly, I was running out of topics that I wanted to talk about at the time. I really like talking to people and about what their journey is. People are shy, especially woodworkers who are introverted mostly, but they have some wonderful stories. I'd like to do more
So
of that.
it's not just people that want to be in marketing and coaching. It's woodwork. And maybe that's why I always wanted to create my own product, because I was so introverted that I didn't want to try to get out there and
You should think about it, because it doesn't have to be a physical product. It doesn't have to be a set of scissors or whatever, or the ultimate yoga mat or whatever. It could be a digital thing. Maybe you make really good beef stew.
recipe.
Yeah, you want to do a recipe, or maybe you got a busy life and you got to plan your life. You have to have crock pot meals planned every day. Folks could use that information and they pay for it. It doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah, that's what I keep telling myself. It doesn't have to be complicated. I really appreciate you taking this time. It has been an absolute pleasure to even just to be able to speak with you and hear everything about your business, your group, all the tips. I've just really enjoyed having you here. Is there any last words that you may have for my audience that might be listening?
You guys are better than you believe currently in yourself. You are. You just are. And if you're waiting, if something's holding you back and you feel you've got to do something, but you're afraid, just take the step and take the first step. Look at it. Whatever your journey is that you're trying to take, it always starts with one step. Figure out what that first step is and take it. Don't worry about the second. Baby steps is the key.
Thank you for listening to the Invisible Marketer podcast. If you would like to access today's show notes, make sure to go over to invisiblemarketer.com/Bill. Keep tuning in each week to discover even more strategies that are tailored towards using your superpower of being an introvert to go out and make an impact.